For a limited time at Sprint, get $50 for each new phone you lease when you switch. That's right, you'll get $50 for each new phone on a prepaid MasterCard issued by MetaBank member FDIC. Just register for the card online and you're good to go. Get a network built for unlimited and a great price at Sprint. It's the best of both worlds. And get $50 on a prepaid MasterCard for each phone you lease. Visit a Sprint store this weekend only for sizzling Sprint Saturday deals.
Card terms, conditions, and expiration apply.
Blog Talk Radio.
This is Franchise Today, brought to you by FRM Solutions, providers of the best-in-class software solutions for franchise relationship management. Franchise Today is your destination for weekly information, conversations, and interviews with accomplished industry leaders, all of whom share best practices for sustainable growth and sensible franchising. Here now, your host, Stan Friedman, to kick off this week's podcast with the SoLink front of the house.
Yes, this is Franchise Today, and I'm Stan Friedman, welcoming you to Episode 5 of the 10th consecutive season of the Franchise Today podcast. Today is Wednesday, February 13th, 2019, a day early for our live listeners, but happy Valentine's Day greetings to all of you in the franchise world. And today I also beg your forgiveness for something that was already brewing last week, but has since turned into a much more than normal gravelly voice as I've been fighting off and losing, I'm afraid, a winter cold or allergy assault. I'll work through it, though, and I hope you'll stick with us for today's program. Speaking of which, it's time for the SoLink Front of the House, where we take a quick look each week at some things making news or noise in franchising. On the news front, the convention is just a couple of weeks away, and the countdown is on for IFA's 59th annual convention at Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas. This year's convention will feature more than 50 educational sessions, concurrent learning sessions, summits, and networking events featuring dynamic keynote speakers that include Gary Vaynerchuk, Carlos Giolina, Patrick Sweeney, and more. Plus, this year's exhibit hall will be packed with nearly 400 suppliers providing products and services in support of sustainable growth, and sensible franchising. That, of course, includes FRM Solutions. You'll find us without too much effort on aisle 500, booth 541 and 543. It's not too late to register if you've not already done so. You can find a link to the full agenda and registration information a bit later today on Franchise Today's Facebook page or at the IFA's homepage at franchise.org. Here's something that qualifies as both news and noise. It's about how much the extended joint employer standard has cost the U.S. economy annually. This according to a new IFA study. The study found that despite the robust jobs market of late, joint employer has led to 376,000 less job opportunities annually and has amazingly cost the U.S. economy more than $33 billion. Also, as part of the research, IFA, along with noted U.S. Chamber of Commerce economist Dr. Ronald Byrd, conducted more than 75 approximately 1 hour-long interviews with franchise brand executives and franchise owners to determine the economic impact of the joint employer model. This groundbreaking research project is the first ever to actually interview franchise businesses in a statistically significant and economically sound way on the joint employer standard. You can find more on this story and links to the actual research today on our Facebook page at Franchise Today. Today, I'd also like to send hearty congratulations to some of our franchise brethren here in Atlanta, where the Southeast Franchise Forum has named a new chair and vice chairman and a new board member as well to its 11-member board of directors. Trey Doster, Franchise Development Director at Zaxby's, will lead SEF as its new chairman. Clarissa Bradstock becomes chair emeritus, and Charles Watson of Tropical Smoothie Cafe becomes vice chair. Honey Baked Ham's vice president of franchising, Horace Williams, also joins the board as a new member. For those of you unfamiliar with the Southeast Franchise Forum, it's a membership organization here in Atlanta that doubles as the Atlanta chapter of the IFA Franchise Business Network. In addition to Trey, Charles, Horace, and Clarissa, the SEF board consists of Rupert Barkoff of Kilpatrick, Stockton, and Townsend, Bill Bishop of Grant Thornton, Dave Bridges at the Levitt Group, Rick Batchelor, CEO at Kego, Eric Gagnon, franchisor at We Sell Restaurants, Catherine Rooks, General Counsel for Premium Franchise Brands, and yours truly, President of FRM Solutions. One more shout out about Charles, too, as Charles has something more to celebrate this week as well. You see, Charles has been serving as interim CEO of Tropical Smoothie for the last few months. But recently the board stripped him of that title as they concluded their executive search for a CEO. Well, they found that they concluded that too because the best man was already in the chair. So Charles, congratulations on your new title as CEO, and we look forward to a great year of your contributions to us on the board of the Southeast Franchise Forum, as well as to Tropical Smoothie for appointing you to the CEO seat. Lastly, in today's front of the house, high fives to Doherty Enterprises for donating more than $516,000 to the Wow a Friend Foundation, an initiative funded with money raised through voluntary employee contributions. The foundation provides emergency funds to members and their immediate families during emergencies or circumstances outside their control, such as natural disasters or unexpected medical emergencies. While Doherty Enterprises' name might not ring any bells for you, their brands certainly will, because they are household names we all know and include Applebee's, Panera Bread, Chevy's Fresh Mix, and Quaker Steak and Lube, to name a few. And there you have it, the front of the house, brought to you by SoulLink, providers of amazing technology that does for loss prevention what Apple and Android did for smartphones. They've made POS and security camera systems smarter. Whether you operate a single unit or a multi-unit empire, if you're the franchisor or executive of a retail or restaurant brand and you're concerned with unit-level economics, take my advice and learn more about SoulLink today. When deployed, SoulLink's technology captures instances of exceptional behavior at all your sites. This exceptional behavior can be good or bad. Either way, SoulLink records everything that goes on in the front and the back of the house, eliminating the need for the review of hours of tape to view these exceptions. Their technology captures it all and provides reports that direct your attention right to the specific video clips of those transactions. This gives you full visibility into every action and transaction at every site from any device on demand. SoulLink cuts through all the excess security footage taken by security cameras and makes it easy for you to keep your eye on the ball. This puts your current point of sale and camera systems on double duty, providing added value from existing point of sale cameras and other digital systems. No new cameras or hardware are required for SoulLink to work for you. And like I said, SoulLink catches it all, and you can catch them at booth 956 at the IFA convention or online at soullink.com. Now, on to this week's featured guests. Today, I'm featuring a program that is one I've really been looking forward to for quite some time. I'm going to be talking today with 3 different executives at Key Bank, each responsible for different things, but all of whom are bonded by the need to do well by doing good. And you'll learn more about how that happens at Key Bank today. The first of these 3 individuals is a gentleman named Don Graves. Don is actually the newest member of the 3 that you'll hear from today on the Key Bank team, and is also a recent returnee, if you will, to the private sector after 10 years in service to our country. I'm not talking about the military either. This time, we always think that when we say in service to our country, we're talking about veterans. Well, today, I'm talking about a guy who gave 6 years of his life to the White House. After 4 years in Treasury, Don also happens to be a personal friend of some 15 or 20 years, so we've got lots here to unpack. But before bringing Don in, let me begin with a little background on Key Bank and how all that we talk about today stands to make a profound impact on the IFA, its educational foundation, and IFA's membership. Key Bank is a top 20 bank headquartered in Cleveland, Ohio, serving retail, small business, corporate, and investment clients through more than 1,100 branches, 1,500 ATMs, and business offices in 39 states nationwide. Key's mission is to empower its clients, communities, and its employees to thrive. The path to financial wellness starts here. No matter who you are, where you are on your financial journey, or what barriers are ahead of you, Key Bank will keep you moving forward. So with that as a foundation, I now do bring in Don Graves, the first of three key executives that you'll hear from today as we talk about Key's commitment to franchising and the IFA Educational Foundation. Don, welcome to Franchise Today.
Dan, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Well, it's a long time overdue. I'm really honored to have you. The audience doesn't know about the stress and strain sometimes of the friendship with somebody who's working in the White House, and the difficulty. It's not just like calling your friend at the end of the day and expecting to get an answer. So for you to carve out some time today is just another testament to how happy I am to find you back in the private sector, where we can do more than we could ever do when bureaucracy tends to get in the way, right?
That is exactly right.
So, Don, that mission statement is pretty powerful. In fact, I think it's something that could have been written by you as a personal mission statement. I mean, I'm just saying, because that's how we met. Why don't you talk a little bit about that journey in terms of how we got together, and we'll push the tape forward from there to where we are today and what we're accomplishing moving forward with IFA.
Sure. Well, I'll try to avoid any incriminating stories, mutually assured destruction here. So you're right, Stan. I can't remember how many years ago it was, but suffice it to say it was a while back. I was working on some efforts to help grow opportunities for communities across the country where people didn't have possibility of creating or growing business, or had a lot of difficulties getting there. A lot of those communities were low and very low income communities. Oftentimes they were urban communities. And a number of us were thinking about the ways that we could begin to find traction in communities. And we heard about some of the work that had been going on at the International Franchise Association, and that you, Stan, and others had been leading with minorities in franchising efforts. And we thought, you know what? Franchises are great because they reduce the risk. A proven franchise concept means that the risk associated with starting a small business is that much less than it would have been otherwise. And if we can find ways to attract talented people who otherwise wouldn't have an opportunity to start a business or buy a franchise, if we could construct a program that could make that work, we could really do something in some of these communities. And so that's what led me to you and the great work that you'd been doing for years with the IFA, and whether it was through your work at Blimpie or any of the other franchises that you'd been with. But I guess that from the first moment I knew, I realized that we had a shared vision for trying to help people get into business, to find their way to creating jobs and creating economic opportunity that they wouldn't have otherwise, and that shared vision was going to lead us to doing something really fun and creative. So that was, like I said, I don't know how many years ago that was, but it's been great to be able to work with you in all those years since.
It's been some 15 at least, and maybe more, Don. I can't put the exact dial in place either, but I know it's been at least that long. And I know that back then you were a private practice. You were a partner in a Washington, D.C. law firm. You were doing some lobbying, as I remembered. Talk about the transition in your life, because I made some changes and changed shirts and brands a couple of times along the way, as some of us want to do in the franchising world. But you made a big change. I got a call from you one day, and I was telling you about I was telling you about a new job that I'd taken, and you were telling me about one that you'd taken. And I think you invited me and my new boss to come join you for lunch inside the U.S. Treasury building. Talk about what happened in your world that made that a fact.
Sure. Well, you're exactly right. I'd been in private practice for years and had worked with a number of businesses. Eventually, I joined the Treasury Department staff and was working on issues related to small business. And Secretary Geithner and President Obama asked me to become the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Small Business, Community Development, and Housing Policy, which I immediately agreed to take because it was going to give me the opportunity to build on all the things that you and I had seen and worked on for all those years to bring to reality some ways of supporting people on Main Street, helping people revitalize their lives, own businesses, create jobs, which would lead them to be able to own homes and send their kids to school and all those the wonderful things that so many of us take for granted. And so it was at that role at Treasury as Deputy Assistant Secretary that I was able to invite you and your boss, and we began to have more conversations. Really, we began to scheme about things that we might be able to do together from inside the government.
So a funny little story that sticks in my mind was my boss said, why would we want to go inside the Treasury to eat in the cafeteria? You know, Don said you have to send Social Security numbers in, and I'll treat you guys to lunch inside the Treasury dining room. And my employer, who won't name nameless, gave me what are you kidding? Why would we want to go to the Treasury and eat in that? It'll be a cafeteria, it'll be institutional food. Why don't you invite your friend Don to come join us, and we'll take him to either Capitol Grill or someplace, outside, and we'll treat him to lunch. So I called Don and suggested we do that, and Don said, well, you don't understand that I'm not allowed to be taken to lunch because I'm now on the government payroll. So I explained that back to my boss, and reluctantly he sends in his social, and I send in my social. And what do we get treated to but a 5-star meal in Tim Geithner's dining room, which had both my boss and me scratching our heads collectively and looking Don sternly in the face and saying, help me understand this, Don. We can't take you to a meal outside at the Ebbett Grill or someplace close by the White House or the Treasury, but you can treat us to a meal like this. And Don explained, yeah, well, I am treating you to this meal. This is kind of like a country club. I sign chits and I get a bill at the end of the month. The government pays for none of this. Is that accurate as I'm recalling it, Don?
That is completely accurate. The staff, we have the privilege of being able to eat in that, or had the privilege of being able to eat in the dining room. Mainly, it's a way to allow folks who are working just unbelievable hours to not have to leave Treasury and go out and get food, but we have to pay for every single thing that you eat in the dining room. So it was, it was a special place. It's some would say, maybe even me, that the Treasury dining room is better than the White House mess. But the food was great and the company was even better.
Well, I will tell you that the company was always good, but the food, it was exceptional, and the experience was, it was like if it was outside of the Treasury building, that would have been the equivalent of a 5-star restaurant for sure. But you busted us for trying to tell you that we didn't understand why you could pay for that, or the government could pay for that. But we were
right.
We were set straight very quickly. It was a paradigm shift. It only took about 10 or 15 seconds for Don to set in motion. So Don, back in those days when we first met, it was through a guy whose name I remember to be Jerry Boyle.
That's correct.
So you were doing work with Jerry Boyle and the Federal Reserve, and I think that it was through that we met some common people in common. In fact, some of whom are have gone on to become more and more engaged in franchising. Our friends at Bowfly, our friend Al Bathrick, a great many people that were part of the public-private sector trying to find our way collectively into doing well by doing good and making opportunities happen for people who would never otherwise think that they could afford a franchise or participate in a franchise. And so what did the Federal Reserve do that was different than the Treasury? How did they play in this space in similar ways but under different banners?
Well, the great thing about the Fed is that they have an entire department that's devoted to helping focus on ways to grow communities and stabilize neighborhoods and giving people economic opportunities. And so Jerry was able to help us with that connection and has continued to do that work out of the Chicago Fed, finding ways to encourage banks to engage in this work, financing small businesses that otherwise wouldn't get access to credit and capital, bringing together organizations that have very different approaches, but are all aligned in trying to achieve those same end results. So it was really great to be able to work with the Fed, and Jerry and the team there, and get connected to folks that I would not have probably ever met. I don't know that I ever would have met you, Stan, given our very different careers, but who have an alignment in the directions you want to go to help people live the best lives that they can live and see economic and family opportunity that they deserve, but don't always get.
So fast forward the tape in a little bit of time. We could probably spend 2 hours just unpacking all the things that were common denominators between us and the excitement of your life following your work at the Treasury Department, where I remember your first office there was, I think, in a sub basement. I remember going down a long way to get to your office. But then suddenly a bright light kind of hit one day, and you were told that you're not only going to work for the Treasury, but you were being asked to take on another assignment as well, which, as I remember a phone call, you told me that I'm not at the Treasury anymore. I've been asked to move next door, and I'm thinking, where is next door? Well, tell us about next door. What's next door, Don?
Next door is it's a small house that's all white. It's at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. I got tapped to work for President Obama, and I'll give a quick story. I don't want to take up all the time reliving past glory, but it actually ties into a little bit to KeyBank in Cleveland. I had been working with the president's staff around ways that we could find pathways to create more businesses to support the growth of business. These were in the fairly dark days when we were just coming out of the Great Recession, and I was told that I needed to staff Secretary Geithner on a trip to Cleveland, where the president was going to be there. A number of other cabinet members were going to be there, focusing on the growth of small business. So I get a call the day before the trip, and they said, please cancel your plane reservation. The president would like you to fly on his plane. So the next day, I find myself incredibly on Air Force One, flying to my hometown of Cleveland, of all places, looking out the window of Air Force One, and the president walks into the cabin where I'm sitting. They, instead of in the far back of the plane where I thought I was going to be, they put me up front with Valerie Jarrett and Bill Daley and other folks. And in walks the president and turns to me and he says, "Don, we're so glad that you're here with us today. Thank you for doing this. I'm so glad that you've agreed to run my jobs council." needless to say, I was pretty shocked because I didn't know that I was going to be running his Jobs Council. But you can't say no to the president, particularly not on Air Force One, because you never know if Secret Service would throw you off the plane. So I got to come home to Cleveland in style as the new head of his Council on Jobs and Competitiveness, and got to really dig deeper on ways that we could make it easier for companies to thrive and grow, reducing regulations, providing additional funding and resources, and supporting private sector efforts. And of course, the president leaves the cabin that I was in. I look out the window, and there's Cleveland, and there's Key Tower out the window. So it's sort of come full circle for me.
Pretty amazing career path, Don. Not too many people can live those memories and have that kind of a trajectory in their career to enable that. You're listening to Franchise Today. I'm Stan Friedman, talking with Don Graves, soon to be talking with Barb Smith and Jim Fliss, all key executives with Key Bank. When we come back, we'll continue with Don and bring Barb and then Jim into the conversation.
Franchise Today will be right back, but first, a word from our sponsors.
This segment of Franchise Today is being brought to you by the Franchise Foundry, where Paul Segreto and his team have been bringing emerging brands to market for more than 30 years, providing the guidance and wisdom needed to assure sustainable growth as they build out their brands. They achieve this by both coaching and consulting their clients, delivering more effective solutions for both the franchisor's corporate team as well as their franchisees. Practical, hands-on experience and expertise is what the Foundry provides for their clients in general business management, operational and change management, digital marketing, and, of course, franchise recruitment and development. To learn more about how the Franchise Foundry can take your brand to the next level, pay them a visit at www.franchisefoundry.com. And Franchise Today is produced and presented each week by FRM Solutions, providing best-in-class CRM and document management software designed specifically for franchising. FRM enables real-time business intelligence, communication, and collaboration between all members of the franchisor's team and their prospective and existing franchisees. This empowers your team to simply and seamlessly track, access, and manage all communications to and from prospective and existing franchisees, including text messages. Legal and compliance is simplified too, with FRM's document management, and even site visits can be digitally facilitated and scored using FRM. Make today the day you give FRM a look, and assure that all your candidate and franchisee correspondence, including texts, are being permanently tracked and archived in candidate and franchisee records. FRM even provides state-of-the-art digital experiences for your prospective franchisees, replacing old-style virtual brochures. No long-term contracts, multiple upgrades each year. No excuses, just solutions. Look for us at FRM's booth at the IFA Convention, 541 and 543. And of course, you can always find us online at frmsolutions.com. So Don, to round it out before I bring Barb into the conversation, you had a 6-year run at the White House. You ran the jobs panel for the president. You became senior advisor. What was your full title for Vice President Biden?
I was his policy director.
Policy director, and good friend, I guess, as the years went by, right?
Yes, he's something of a big brother to me at this point.
Well, whether he runs for president or not, I'm sure you won't tell us about that today. So we're not going to kind of shift gears and tell us about 2020. But maybe we'll bring you back for another conversation about that at another time. Tell us, coming out of the tenure at the White House after 6 years in the public eye and in the fishbowl, you wind up now back in private sector life and affiliated with Key Bank. So let's transition back to Key and how that happened, and with that, we'll bring Barb in right behind that.
Well, I'll just tell you that when you come out of working at a place like the White House and Treasury, you're sort of biased as to the types of places that you should work. And Stan, you've known me for years, and I think you know that I was not going to work for a company that I didn't believe in. And so I was looking at a lot of different options and happened to get reconnected with folks that I had known for a long time at KeyBank, who said, you know what, have you thought about bringing your career to Key and back home to Cleveland, which I hadn't really thought about doing, but the more that I thought about it, the more that it made sense. The culture at Key is really the thing that allowed me to come home. It's different from a lot of other institutions, and some may say, well, you know, that's good. Those are good talking points, but we have it right in our mission. It's helping clients and communities thrive. And you look at what Key does. We're the northern tier of the U.S. Our retail footprint, basically, from Maine to Alaska, and we don't get to cherry pick the best markets in the country. We have markets that have challenges, just like people out in the rest of the country. People have challenges in their lives, and if KeyBank was going to succeed, then Key really had to make good on helping both clients and communities thrive. Because if your community doesn't thrive, then the clients aren't going to thrive, and if the clients aren't going to thrive, then the bank certainly wasn't going to thrive. And it sort of took that approach to its core, creating shared value for our clients, our communities, our shareholders, our employees. And that's what really brought me back to the bank. The bank asked me to be the head of corporate responsibility and community relations, basically doing what I've been doing all along, trying to find ways to make it easier to help people get access to resources that they wouldn't otherwise have, and helping communities to thrive and grow. So the good thing for me is that the bank, for those that follow financial institutions, know that we get rated on a regular basis on our community reinvestment activities. And I think we're the only bank in the country, certainly the only large bank, that's been rated by the OCC, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, our regulator, as having an outstanding CRA rating since the very beginning of the Community Reinvestment Act. So only a very small percentage of banks get an outstanding rating, 1 or 2 or 3%, something like that. So I knew that this was the right institution for me, and it was proven out by the folks that I met here, Barb and Jim, amongst a whole range of others who are really focused on helping us to find ways to support communities and create opportunities for them.
And before we bring Barb in, Don, let's just briefly touch on the commitment that KeyBank is making to the franchising space over the next 3 years, and what that means and what that looks like for both the Educational Foundation and for KeyBank. I'll talk volumes about what it means for the Educational Foundation, but talk to me about KeyBank's interest in this commitment.
Well, KeyBank made a commitment a couple years ago when we acquired First Niagara Financial Group, that we were going to commit billions of dollars, $16 billion to low and moderate income communities all across the country. Importantly, $2.5 billion of that is to go to support small and growing businesses. We also committed $175 million of philanthropic investments. That commitment is a 5-year commitment, and we're about 2.5 years through it. But what we thought about was, how can we make good on that commitment around small businesses in low-income communities, moderate-income communities? What would be the easiest way to begin to do that? And immediately, I thought of franchising. KeyBank has been in the franchising space for a while, but we've never had a strategic, systematic approach like we do now to working with franchisees and franchisors. And we thought, well, like I said earlier, franchise companies are less risky. The concepts are proven, and if we can bring the credit and capital to bear, we can help grow franchise companies all across these low and moderate income communities around the country. So that's when I started talking with Jim and Barb and other folks here about it, and we said, let's not just say that we're going to do this and go sort of hat in hand to the franchise concepts around the country. Let's actually put our money where our mouth is. So we're committing hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IFA Foundation, and expect that this is just the beginning of our commitment to the IFA's foundation and to the franchising industry as a whole, really because we wanted to make sure that we were able to get the type of research, the type of programmatic support that folks, the seminars, the training that folks need in communities to be able to successfully own and operate franchises in markets across the country. So we couldn't be more excited about the partnership with the IFA, our investment in community, low and moderate income communities, and the ways that we think that we can help to expand the franchising industry to places that it had never gotten to before.
So KeyBank's commitment to IFA is $150,000 over 3 years to help educate and communicate and help those who hear a message that says, hey, own your business and own your life, and that person hears that message on a radio spot and thinks, well, you must be talking to somebody else. You can't be talking to me. I can't even afford to take my family out to a family of five for a meal at a franchise, much less own one. But the truth is that not all franchises require $1 million to own them, and we need to better communicate and educate those in low and moderate income markets that, yes, you can break out of the chains of dependency and you can own your business and own your life, and you can come to programs that will be sponsored by KeyBank to help spread that word and to help members of those communities create jobs instead of dependency on government services or on other things to living paycheck to paycheck themselves. So it's a beautiful thing that you're doing, and it's a great place that it's happening. And as I continue to learn more and more about KeyBank, I found out that not only was there Don, but there's more than Don going on at KeyBank. And to that end, it's time to bring on Barb Smith. Barb Smith's career in banking happened almost by accident. After earning a degree in education, she was looking for a teaching position when she accepted a job as a bank teller. She discovered that she could still experience the joy of teaching and make a meaningful difference, just in a different way. Education, both learning and teaching, has always been a real drive for Barb. She's been fortunate to learn through experience, having held nearly every position in banking, from teller to district leader to senior leader, helping people, helping her clients, helping her key associates alike. That's her passion. As the director of the Key for Women program, Barb spends her day focused on how KeyBank can help women reach their financial goals. Key for Women is a women-focused initiative that provides insight, tools, and support to female entrepreneurs and leaders. Barb, welcome to Franchise Today.
Hey, thanks, Dan. So happy to be here with you.
So I found it amazing when I just discovered that KeyBank had an initiative like this, and that in the world of franchising, female entrepreneurship represents some of the strongest driving growth that franchising has seen from the 80s and 90s. Not so much from the late 90s and into the turn of the millennium. We see some of the most significant growth in franchise businesses being impacted by women in the C-suite and women who are buying franchises either on their own or women who are participating, not just supporting their husbands or spouses, but participating in the franchise businesses. Some of the biggest companies and greatest franchise concepts, there are so many of them that have franchise or representation in the C-suite, many of them second generation. I think of one company in particular, Two Men in a Truck. Mary Ellen Sheets began that company. Who'd have thought that a woman would have started a moving company and then handed to the second generation of her children, and her daughter, Melanie Bergeron, not only became the CEO of Two Men in a Truck, but then became the chairwoman of the International Franchise Association, and she's one of a few. She's not the only one. So it's been an incredible thing to see women rising up in the franchising space, and then to learn that there was this Key for Women program at Key Bank almost floored me. So talk to us a little bit about how that initiative works and what kind of services it provides, of course, above and beyond franchising, but tell us about Key for Women.
Well, Fred, Stan, you're right. Women-owned businesses themselves are growing each and every day. So every day, over 1,000 net new women-owned businesses are opened up. They account for about 45% of all businesses across the United States, and they employ over 9 million people. So it's a growing segment. It's a very, very successful segment. Matter of fact, if we look back to the recession and we look at the growth rate of women-owned businesses versus their male peers, you would see that during that time, during those years, women-owned businesses grew at a rate of 5 times faster than their male counterparts. So there's something there. At Key, back to some of Don's comments and our commitment to making communities thrive, we not only are committed, but we walk the walk and talk the talk. Our CEO and chairman is one of the only female CEOs and chairman of a top 20 bank. We have about 65% of our employee population as women, 55% of those sit in management positions. So we are definitely committed to seeing how we can help women in their journey to financial confidence. And honestly, Stan, that's the challenge that women face, is that often they deal with unconscious bias when it comes to finding resources for tools for financing. They also have their own challenges and their own insecurities when it comes to that, because so often they're left off the conversation around the table around finances, or they don't even see themselves, just like many of your franchisee owners don't see themselves in a position where they could actually run a business, right, and that they could actually own and really make a difference in not only their communities, their family, but then also others' lives and support others. So we are committed to advocating, connecting, and empowering women on their journey to financial confidence, and Key for Women is how we do it. What I found equally as exciting as I learned more about the IFA was the Women's Franchise Committee and their networks, and along with their vision and mission, it was almost like I wrote the vision and mission. It's just so well connected, and I'm very excited and thrilled to be partnering with the Women's Committee.
And so Key Bank will be represented well at the IFA convention in about 2 weeks. Barb is also going to be sponsoring the Women in Franchising Leadership Luncheon, which precedes the opening gavel of the convention. And so those of you who are interested in learning more about the Key Bank Women Initiative should definitely attend that lunch. You probably already registered for that luncheon, because that's who's going to be in the room, all the women who are leaders in franchising and those men who want to be around that power base of women in franchising. So, Barb, congratulations for being a part of that, and thank you on behalf of IFA for sponsoring that luncheon and for being at the convention along with Don's group, Eric Fiala, and with Jim Fliss and his group. And we're going to be bringing Jim in just a minute to talk, too, about how, you remember, Key is a for-profit company, We've been talking about all the do well by doing good, and this first 40 or so minutes has been all about doing good. But we've got to talk, too, about the doing well part. It pays the bills, right?
Right,
so
absolutely.
We're going to discuss that, too. And, Barb, I want you to tell women in the audience, before we bring Jim in, how they can get involved with Key for Women. It's a membership organization, isn't it? Can not women join and become part of a community?
Well, we invite both men and women to join. We like our male allies just as much as we like our women as well. But anyone can join. You don't have to be a client of Key. You could be a prospect, and we encourage everyone to join. It's easy to do. All you have to do is go out on key.com/women and hit the register button and fill in a little bit of information. You're registered, and biweekly you'll receive information and content around either training topics, around leadership, things to success stories, lots of different items that we provide there. If you are a Key for Women client, though, we also offer or your client and your Key for Women member, we also offer some webinars and training that will be accessible to you. But we also have within our markets and our networks, just like the Women's Committee has their own networks, we have our own communities in each of our markets that put on seminars and bring in leaderships, and we really encourage networking and the great thought leadership that happens and the B2B that happens at those meetings. So that's how we bring it to life, Stan.
We're going to be bringing a whole new universe of opportunity to Key for Women with the IFA's entrepreneurship from those in business, from the women in franchising, and I'm sure you're going to be doing the same in reverse, bringing an awful lot of new resource to the women in franchising in the IFA. Barb, I can't thank you enough, and please stay with us as I add the last piece of the puzzle. By the way, Barb, unlike Don, is a lifer at Key Bank. I believe, if I'm correct, she's been with Bank for 22 years, and as I said, she's worked her way through every position to the current role she's playing today. Third piece of the puzzle is Jim Fliss, who I welcome back to Franchise Today. You'll recall Jim joined us a couple of weeks ago to give insights to the impact that the government shutdown was having on SBA loans. Jim is Senior Vice President and National SBA Manager for Key Bank, responsible for growing SBA revenue and profitability across Key's national footprint. This includes strategy development, management of direct sales force and sales support functions, loan closing department, and capital market loan sales. Additionally, Jim is responsible for marketing, PR, and government relations in D.C., as well as the end-to-end project management, and plays a critical role in talent acquisition and team building by leveraging his vast network of national industry contacts. So, Jim, welcome back to Franchise Today.
Stan, great to be here.
Jim, until now we've been focused on the doing good piece, but let's hone in now on doing well and how the experiences of applicants and borrowers are not a one-size-fits-all piece, and how not all SBA lenders are the same. Give us some insight about the SBA side of Key Bank.
Yeah, my pleasure. We've been an active SBA lender for over 20 years now, Stan, and active in the franchising space as well. In fact, we've lent to over 200 brands since our inception, and 85 different brands over the last 3 years. And we've made a real commitment to this by developing an infrastructure that supports end-to-end, from sales to closing to support around PLP lending. And we've had some real success. We've ascended into the top 10 in the country, so SBA 7A lending, we've grown as fast as anyone in the country. So when we think about franchising and going national, it is sort of a natural extension.
And so talk about the going national piece, because your intention is to be able to service people in all 50 states through brands that are certified by Key as brands that they would work with. Is that correct?
That's correct. We've done. We started with the universe of franchise brands and looked at the ones that best align with us from a risk perspective and a growth perspective. but we feel we can service the broad franchising communities, whether it's a refi or a real estate purchase or even a change of ownership. That's in our wheelhouse. It could be startup or even an expansion or a multi-unit location. But even beyond SBA, Stan, we feel like we've got good solutions to provide ease, value, and expertise to our clients, whether it's a conventional loan or a client needs treasury services or merchant services or even capital markets. We can provide a holistic solution to our clients above and beyond our success in SBA.
So SBA lending, how many SBA lenders are there out there, Jim? How big is that universe? There's
about 1,800 lenders in the country, Stan, and currently we're number 10 in the country.
And they're not all banks, or how does that work?
No, there's banks and non-bank lenders. Banks and non-bank lenders. This is about a $25 billion, when we talk about the SBA business, it's about a $25 billion industry.
Wow. So who are you looking to meet at the IFA? Because you talk about what you're going to be doing and who's going to be joining you at the convention, as you guys are going to have a booth in the trade show. What's your goal for this convention, Jim?
Well, we would love to meet as many franchisors as possible, franchisees that are interested, vendors that support the industry. Really, the entire franchising community we're looking to build and establish relationships with, and we're looking to see those that we've worked with well over the years.
And who's coming with you? Who's going to be on the team that's going to be in the booth representing KeyBank?
Well, we will have Eric Fiala from our corporate foundation, myself, my counterpart on the conventional lending side, Kevin Rask, as well as Barb Smith and Colleen Durgate from her team at Keeper.
And of course, the primary focus, of course, is the point of entry is helping franchisors know that they've got the power of a bank behind them, so that when a qualified candidate presents himself to the brand, that they can feel confident that they can get them financed and capitalized for their SBA loan. KeyBank, though, offers much more than just SBA financing. So just a quick touch, Jim, an opportunity for a shameless plug and commercial. What else will Key be able to do for those franchisors that it does business with that go above and beyond SBA loans, which maybe others can't do as well?
Yeah, we can provide conventional financing solutions for borrowers that are a little bit stronger. So a franchisee that owns a handful of locations and has sort of grown to a revenue and profitability size, sort of outgrown SBA. We've got those solutions, the complete suite of treasury products, cash management, merchant processing, and then those that have even more sophisticated needs. So the franchisors that need subordinated debt or equity injections, or even those that would consider taking their brand public. So really from a startup all the way to an IPO and everything in between, we've got covered.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing you at the IFA. We're looking forward to the impact that KeyBank is going to be making on the franchise community as the word gets out to the level of communication and information that's going to be available, research provided, things that you're going to do to let the franchise world know that you're not just here to be a company that is selling into franchising, if you will, as so many vendors come to this space thinking you can do that. It doesn't work. This is relationship business, and you guys, as Don said earlier, putting your money where your mouth is. You've certainly done that, and the IFA and its Educational Foundation and membership will all be the beneficiaries of your generosity and your commitment to the franchising space. I'm going to ask us to round out the hour here before time is up by telling the audience, each of you, how, if they wanted to get in touch with you before convention, how would they go about doing that? And Don, let me start with you.
Well, the easiest way to reach me is via email, because I can access that regardless of where I am in the country. My email address is Don, D-O-N, _ Graves, Graves, at keybank.com.
Thank you, Don.
Stan?
And Barb?
Okay, I was just going to jump in, Stan. Sorry about that. And for me, it's the same way. Email is the best way. And it's Barb_Smith at keybank.com.
And I am James_Fliss, which is spelled F as in Frank, Liss as in Sam, also at keybank.com. My phone number is area code 216-813-7793.
Thank you, Jim. And thank all of you for your participation in this initiative with the IFA. Thank you for your time spent with me here today. Proud to be affiliated with the IFA's Educational Foundation and its Diversity Board and Supplier Board, and will be most proud to be introducing Barb and Jim and Eric and others who are in attendance at the convention to my peers and contemporaries on the boards of IFA, board members itself, as well as the Educational Foundation, Diversity, and get you guys as ensconced as possible into these waters that you're going to be swimming in. And I can't thank you, Don, enough for bringing KeyBank and the IFA and franchising together. Until next time, next week on Wednesday at noon, I'm Stan Friedman wishing you the best, the very best of all things franchising. And until then, Franchise Today is out.
Franchise Today is a production of FRM Solutions, providing best-in-class CRM tools to empower relationships with prospective and existing franchisees. No excuses, just solutions. Find them online at frmsolutions.com. Join Stan every Wednesday at noon Eastern for another live episode of Franchise Today. Or, as always, download episodes on demand at blogtalkradio.com or iTunes.
For a limited time at Sprint, get $50 for each new phone you lease when you switch. That's right, you'll get $50 for each new phone on a prepaid MasterCard issued by MetaBank member FDIC. Just register for the card online and you're good to go. Get a network built for unlimited and a great price at Sprint. It's the best of both worlds. And get $50 on a prepaid MasterCard for each phone you lease. Visit a Sprint store this weekend only for sizzling Sprint Saturday deals.
Card terms, conditions, and expiration apply.
The all-new Toyota RAV4 asks, what if? What if your ride was refined and rugged at the same time? Introducing a car that's got style and substance to spare. The all-new RAV4 Limited, featuring a sophisticated, muscular new exterior and available options like a premium JBL audio system and panoramic roof. The all-new RAV4 Limited. Toyota, let's go places. JBL and Clarifier, registered trademarks of Harman International Industries, Incorporated.
When you're part of a military family, you understand sacrifice and support. At American Public University, we honor your dedication by extending our military tuition savings to your extended family. Parents, spouses, legal partners, siblings, and dependents all qualify for APU's preferred military rate of just $250 per credit hour for undergraduate and master's level programs. American Public University. Value for the whole family. Learn more at apu.apus.edu/military.